Welcome, guys, to the Dreaming in Color podcast. I am your host, Tahirah Banks Webster.
And I'm Gino, your co-host.
Let's go. You did it a little different there, Gino. If this is your first time joining us, guys, we're so happy to have you here. If you have been here before, welcome back. For those that are new to the podcast, Dreaming in Color is a community for people who are ready to trade a black and white life for one that is rich, colorful, bold, beautiful. Gino and I have been in business for the past decade, and we've actually been in love for the past decade as well. We've been in a relationship for the past decade. And we've grown our business and our lives from $0 and 0 cents to millions in revenue, loving every minute of the journey. And now we're on a mission to create a future where anybody, regardless of their background, can not only pursue their boldest dreams, but they can access the ideas, the resources, the technology, the people to make those dreams a reality, whatever they may be. So through this podcast or content, we're sharing the lessons we've learned in business and in personal. And we just want to thank you for joining our journey to transforming our communities. So happy to have you here.
So happy to have you guys. Welcome.
So as you guys could tell, we are usually more dressed up than this. We are very dressed down. We are in athleisure wear, if we want to call it that.
Yeah, we work for Nike, you can say. We love Nike.
What'd you say?
I said we work for Nike.
Nah, but we're very much in just athleisure wear this evening. We're traveling tomorrow, and it's Tuesday. We usually record this podcast on a Friday night or a Saturday night, but it's Tuesday, it's midweek, and we just had to get it out because we're going to be out of town during that period of time. You won't know it because it's published on Monday, but I'm just giving you a disclaimer as to why we're so dressed down. We're comfortable, and I like this look.
I don't think the people care. They just want to hear what we got.
I think they're gonna want to know, why are y'all just Gino here in a zip up, Tahirah here in a big t-shirt? What's going on? I just had to share that. but before we go on, I told Gino I thought it was important to state we did a thing today. Gino,
what did we do?
We did a thing. No, let me give you guys some context. I don't believe in fads. In fact, and Gino doesn't believe in fads. We're like the opposite of fads. So if everybody is doing one thing, we're very likely going to be doing the other thing. We're not the type of people that we just don't jump on it. Everybody's going out buying these Stanley Cups and all that. I'm not buying a Stanley Cup because everybody buying a Stanley Cup. I don't care how long it can hold water. I'm not buying a Stanley Cup. However, ice water. And I like my water icy.
You like? Yeah, exactly.
I like my water icy. But today we did a thing. We finally succumbed to the pressure. We bought Crocs. We bought Crocs today. Look, we bought Crocs. I'm so lit about this. The nieces have been obsessed with Crocs. Everybody we know got Crocs.
I know. Everybody we know.
The kids got Crocs. I saw the nieces in the mall last year going nuts with the Crocs charms and stuff. We did the same today. We got these very simple Crocs, and simple but stylish, the slides. And I can't do that, though, the ones that look like a boat. I know they're comfortable. I can't do that. I can't walk around in those.
She's referring to the original one, guys. The boat.
Yeah, can't do that. We got these Crocs. What are your charms, Gino? I got the Lakers, Harry Potter, LA, the Dodgers logo, Pikachu. I got my initials, Tahirah Banks Webster, TBW, a game control because I'm a gamer girl, and a $sign because I'm up my money. What you got, babes?
I got my initial G for my name, a control because I'm the best at Xbox. I got a dog paw because I love dogs, and I got a basketball because that's my favorite sport. And then on the nerdy end, I got the Avengers, the Uchiha symbol, and then the Sharingan.
Let's go.
So, if you know,
red is your favorite color.
It is.
So you're all situated. Yeah. It was cool. I enjoyed the experience of getting Crocs. I'm in there like a scavenger.
You should see her sifting through the charms.
Yeah, I was like, yo, let's go. I had to get the charm I wanted. But today was an interesting day, guys. We had a pretty deep conversation today, and it inspired our topic for today's session. And the topic, as you can see, is the devil shows up before the breakthrough, right? So we got comfortable in the Crocs for this conversation because It's a pretty deep conversation. The devil shows up before the breakthrough. And I'll say that chasing your dreams is hard. It's one of the reasons why we even started this podcast, because
Mhm.
we know, we understand, we empathize with the reality that believing in yourself, going after what it is you want for your life is hard. And and it's even harder when the devil shows up, when all hell breaks loose, when you feel like nothing is going right, when you're ready to give up.
Right.
And I had a conversation today. We had a conversation today with
Mhm.
a young lady who, she felt like giving up. She had, I don't think she's going to give up, but she had a fleeting thought, just a small thought that started to kind of snowball. And she
Mhm.
was thinking like, yo, I want to give up. And we had a conversation around that, myself, the young lady, Gino, and the one of the things that I told her was some of the best advice I ever got.
Mhm.
And that was in Las Vegas in April. I was talking to this guy, super wealthy CEO of a couple tech companies. Well, and I asked him, so once I see someone who, Gino and I are this way. Once we see someone who we know is on it, we're just asking for advice. Like, we're just asking questions. We want to learn. And I asked him, like, if you had any advice for a young CEO, what would it be? And he said, right when it is the hardest, right when you feel like giving up, right when everything seems impossible and it's like it's all falling apart and you just can't go anymore, at that moment in time when you want to give up, when you want to just say pack it up, that is the moment when you have to keep going, because right after that point is when you will experience your greatest level of success. Is when everything is going to shift for you. And I took that to mean the devil shows up in full force right
Mhm.
before your breakthrough. And I shared that
Right.
with her today. I shared that. You're going through a tough time, the devil shows up right before your breakthrough. So we're going to get into that. And we have three important points that we want to discuss around this topic,
Mhm.
because it's not unique to it was not unique to the young lady, it's not unique to us. We all are fighting devils in our lives.
Correct.
And you have a an interesting perspective.
Yeah. So, guys, this evening I want to talk to you guys about one of the ways in which the devil shows up. And for me, I look back at a lot of situations in my life and I notice that the devil appears as me sometimes, right? So, for example, let's say something happens, devil attacks, but for the most part, the biggest distraction is ourself, right? So you kind of gotta you want to get out of your own head. And I'll share a story with you, like, well, it's something that happened recently, and how, like, I identified myself as, being my own devil, right? Self
You were my
paralysis.
devil on that day as well too.
I knew you were gonna say that, but
Go
whatever.
ahead.
I'll continue. It's fine. It's cool. So yeah, so we were invited to a barbecue. Tahirah bought a potato salad since you want.
Oh my
All
god.
right, she was supposed to bring potato salad. She bought a
Look,
potato salad. I'm
I
sorry, babes.
bought
I
that.
just had to do it.
No
I
shame.
got you back. But anyhow, I decided to bring Johnny cakes. All jokes aside, I decided to bring Johnny cakes. I love baking Johnny cakes. It's my thing. I believe that I have mastered it. I'm a boss. So
I would give you that. You've
yeah, thank you, wife. So I put in all the dry ingredients. I put in the wet ones. I mix it all up. Um, I kneaded it all together. I let it sit. Put some oil on that so the rising agents, could activate. And I let it
This is
sit
all
for
going
about
over my
5.
head, guys, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. I let the flour set for about 5 minutes, and then once it was done, I rolled it out, made sure it was smooth, got a rolling pin out, cut it into smaller pieces, did the perfect circle thing, the thing that you do with your hand, knead it up. Shout out to Charlene for that. And, I popped them into the oven. All right. So I was excited because prior to that, Tahira had, she had given me a lecture about you need to be on time.
Yeah,
You
I
need to
did.
value more time. And I said, okay, if it's an issue, I will make it a priority. And I obsess over anything that my wife brings up. Okay. So if she says this is something you have to work on, then I'll prioritize it. So I'm looking at my clock, my little timer, and I'm checking the oven. My mother always says, what was it? A boiling pot. If you stare at it for too long, it doesn't boil. Can't remember the analogy, the saying, but anyhow, something was just off about it. They were flat, they weren't browning, and I'm like, so
Didn't
now
look good.
she would, yeah. So she said that, comes with a negative energy, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Just be patient, give it some time. So now I'm like, okay, 18 minutes in and they're not perfect. So by the 18-minute mark, I know that
Wait, Baze, pause right here. I'm
what?
sorry to interrupt your
Do
story.
not, do not, Tahira, do not mention that.
I'm not gonna say what happened. I'm just going.
Okay.
I just want to give my point at this juncture in the
Okay.
story. I'm looking at Gino because remember, Gino has mastered baking Johnny cakes perfection. So I like to peep around and see what's going on because I like to see when they rise up and stuff. So when
Yeah,
I
me
looked in
too.
the oven, go ahead, babe.
No,
Sorry,
no,
go
you look
ahead.
in
Go
the
ahead.
oven, what happened? You look in the oven, what happened? Yeah,
I
she,
was
she looked in the
shocked.
oven and she was like, let me look right. And I was like, get out of the kitchen. So I was annoyed already, right? So I told her, just get out of the kitchen. Do something constructive with your life. Go pick up my clothes. But anyhow,
See,
so it wasn't like that. I did snap because I was upset, but I'm sorry, wife. Um,
you did.
just a tiny snap. Just a tiny snap.
Yeah.
They weren't rising, so something was wrong, and I couldn't understand what was happening, and so no, the perfectionist in me is saying, okay, we're late. The Johnny cakes aren't done. At least if you're gonna show up late, make sure the Johnny cake's done and they're done right.
And the nag in me was like, "Yo, we late. We ain't got no
Yeah.
time for this."
So no, I take them out and they're hard like rocks.
Yo,
And I was like, okay, cool. So now I'm silent. This is the devil now. I'm silent. Whenever this happens, what I tend to do is, I
whenever
become
what
disappointed
happens,
with
sorry.
myself. Whenever I mess up something, apologies,
Okay.
right? So whenever I mess up something, especially something that I know how to do and that I've done many times, it gets on my last nerve. I get down on myself. I'm really hard on myself, and I just stopped talking to Tahira. I just stopped talking to my wife. That's what I normally do. I don't want to hear nothing, especially from you. So now I'm in the
Oh,
shower
that's
and I'm
lit.
just going through. I'm going through, and I'm like, she was just like, let's just go. I was like, I can't show up late and empty-handed, right? And so I said, okay.
Well, first I was saying let's just bring those Johnny cakes.
Oh, you're so you see, I didn't remember that part. I skipped over that because I'm not even thinking about that. Mommy raised me
Yeah.
better than that. I ain't about that life, right? So
Oh shoot, we
I'm not
we
I'm
taking
not
jazz
showing
and
up
my mother
for
know.
the rock stones, woman. I'm not doing that. So out of the picture. So I'm just in the shower and I'm not doing anything. She was like, what are you doing? Like, we gotta go. And I'm just
At this
standing there.
point, guys, I am my nag is fully activated because I'm like, yo, we ain't got time for this. We gonna be late. I'm tired of being
And
late.
and
Like,
I
let's
am like,
go.
relax.
Yeah,
I'm
he
trying
was
to
lit.
keep my composure. I'm just saying, relax. Just give me a second. All of us some Johnny cakes and Johnny cakes. So no, I said there was a moment of silence, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk with the ingredients, and I'm going to redo the batch over there when we get over there. She was
I
like,
was flabbergasted.
she was like, okay, good. I was thinking about it, but it might be a bit much. And I was like, no. So I hopped out of the shower and I put together. I made sure I got all the ingredients this time. And would you know? I skipped. I right. So why they turned out to be rock stones was that I forgot the key ingredient. Now, what is the key ingredient in Big Johnny cake, sweetheart, besides the flour? She doesn't know exactly.
Baking
It's
powder.
baking. It's baking powder. I forgot the baking powder. And as you guys know, this a rising agent. It helps with the fluffiness of the flour, and it obviously rises the bread, makes the bread rise. And I
Nah.
forgot that. And later on, we got into a whole conversation about what it means to follow a process. That's for another time. But I forgot one of the key ingredients. And just to tie it all back, what you don't want to do after the devil shows up is not act because of some fear or become self paralyzed, right? Self paralysis. Because what I do is I get hard on myself. I don't think straight, and then that causes for confusion later down, right? And so what you always want to do and what you want to understand is that the greatest devil that we will ever have to overcome is ourselves and our mind. That's a point I want to leave you guys with as it relates to know the devil in you. Right?
And that's it is interesting how you say all that, because I was looking at this from the outside and I could see when the devil got a hold of you when you were in the shower and not taking any well, first of all,
I was
you
just standing
refused
there, I wasn't doing
you
anything. Yeah.
refused to leave the kitchen. You were looking at the Johnny cakes, trying like just waiting for them to rise, and they would not rise. And you would not leave the kitchen. And I could see that this was becoming an issue for you. I know who I married. I know who I'm in business with. I know that you are a perfectionist. You will every pixel perfect is your stamp. Like you have to have everything perfect. And if it's not, then you're not submitting it, or
Mm-mm.
you're not, if it's a work, you're not submitting it. If it's food, you're not plating it. Everything
Mhm,
has to be perfect. That
mhm.
has been of benefit to us in in our business in a lot of ways, but it's also been like come on my guy, like
A
you kind of have
disadvantage
to
of
get
that.
out of your own head sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has felt like, observing it from the outside, I've seen what goes on with you. And I think you made an important point about nothing is wrong with wanting to show up for yourself and to be
Mhm.
excellent, but when that becomes paralysis, when you're
Yeah.
not taking action, when your whole everything else around you is kind of falling apart, then it becomes an issue. And that's where, like, prioritizing things in order of importance, and that comes down to values as well, because for you,
Yeah.
you valued showing up with perfect Johnny cakes. For me, I valued showing up on time.
With
And so
rock
I
hard
think,
Johnny cakes, right?
well, with or without the Johnny cakes, I was perfectly prepared to say, "Hey, we had an incident with the Johnny cakes." But I think
Mm,
the bigger thing is that, you know the biggest devil exists inside of us. And
yeah.
that was a simple instance with Johnny cakes, but for most people,
Mhm.
when they are approaching a moment of breakthrough, when they are approaching a moment of transformation, the devil
Mhm.
shows up in their own mind. The devil shows up in their own lives. And when you don't have that control over your mind, the devil takes complete control. The devil is actually at the machines. And I think that segues nicely into our second point, which is that when the devil shows up, the he ain't just showing up. He's showing
Mhm.
up and he's compounding all of the doubts, all of the fears that you have, all of your insecurities are being compounded when that devil shows up. And as you said, a lot of time that devil is reinforced by the devil within you, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So the something that we talked about in the conversation today was that, when the devil shows up, we start to feel like we're crazy for wanting what we want, right? And this manifested itself in the conversation where the person we were talking to, the young lady we were talking to, she had a specific dream, and it was a big dream. It was a dream unlike, if I talk to 10 people, one person may have that dream.
Mhm.
99% of people will not even venture to have that dream, or at least say it out loud. She
Mhm.
had said it out loud to me before, and in this instance, she was just like, I don't even know if I want that dream anymore. Like, I don't like I just I don't even think it's possible for me. And she was really beating herself up,
And
right?
she was a bit reluctant to say it at first too,
Right. She was
in fear
reluctant
of
to say
what
that
we
first
say.
because, it's something that she wants.
Yeah.
But in that moment I was like, no, like, your dream isn't crazy. Look, I got the same dream. And I think that is so important to know. Like, I was giving her the example. I was saying, listen, doubting yourself is not uncommon. And I was sharing with her about the reality that when we lived in Anguilla, um, and we were, in the building stages of the business, I remember, I distinctly remember a night driving home from the office. It was late. I was
Mhm.
tired. I was stressed. I was exhausted. I was stressed out. I was just everything, right? And it just felt like, what are we doing? Like, I remember thinking, like, do I really want this? Like, I can just, like, I know I'm working so hard for this dream that I have, but like, maybe if I just like small up the size of my dream, maybe if I just like adjust it and make it smaller, then I don't know, then I won't feel so stressed out, right? Then I won't feel
Right.
so, all those things. And I had to snap. I distinctly remember I was going right around that corner. I was on the Jeremiah Gums Highway, right after you pass that little harbor gap. But before you get like around the bend where you could see St. Martin and stuff, like close
Mhm.
there to the pond. And I remember rounding that corner and thinking, like, do I want this? Like, I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted.
Mhm.
And that was a moment. Obviously, after that period, we are where we are today and we have further to go. But I remember in that moment, like, just kind of snapping myself and like, of course you do. Like, come on, get it together. But that didn't stop the thought from being there. And what I was explaining to her is that what was going on with me at that time was that I wasn't seeing the wins at the rate I wanted to see the wins. I wasn't getting the external validation in the money. I wasn't getting the
Mhm.
external validation in the accolades. I wasn't getting the external validation in new business. I wasn't getting the wins. It wasn't showing up in my life. My dreams were not manifesting in my life in the way I wanted them to.
Mhm.
And I felt like giving up because of that. But what I learned in that period of perseverance was that you have to be willing to show up and do the work without the applause, without the actual wins, without the
Mhm.
celebration, to literally do the work without seeing any results. When the devil is in front of you, to just continue doing the work and know that, hey, this is my dream. This is what it is I want for my life. And I'm not going to stop just because I'm experiencing some hardship. I'm not going to stop just because I'm not winning on the level I want to win at. I'm not going to stop just because the process is getting more complex than I thought it should be. And I thought that that was important to share because when the devil shows up,
Mhm.
every fleeting doubt we've ever had,
Mhm.
it just magnifies. It just
Yep.
it goes wild on you.
And sometimes before you know it, you're like 5 wives in, 70 children. I'm just saying, like, you form like I've been like when these things happen, like, and I like in my head I play out everything like before. It's like a daydream before I snap out of it. But what I've done, Tahira, as relates to that, outside of asking God for help immediately, um, I'd say is I associate a lot of that with pain. So, for example, I know we had this conversation, a similar conversation today, where whenever things get tough, when it feels like, all right, you just want to give up. And in this line of business, it gets tough all the time.
Mhm.
And you'll have those fleeting moments, doubt seeps in. I immediately think of, all right, you gotta integrate, you gotta get gratitude running through your head immediately, right? So I
Mhm,
think about all of the things I'm grateful for starting off with life, and then I then think about, okay, what happens if 6 months, 7 months
mhm,
go by, and like, would I really, like, what does that do to my life? Does it change my life? Am I in
mhm.
a better position? Am I worse
Mhm.
off? And so, like, I kind of like to think about that, and then that kind of realigns me with whatever my
With
purpose
where you
is,
want need to
whatever
be.
I'm working on. But I got a question here
Mhm,
for you. So you said that you've doubted yourself,
mhm,
one, like, it's something that happens all of the time, right?
mhm.
But like, how do you learn to, like, deal with that? Like, because as CEO, you're in the line of fire a lot more than I am.
Yeah.
Um, kind of like, and it's kind of difficult because, one, you're also a female black CEO,
Mhm.
right? So I kind of want to know, like, how do you navigate those instances whenever you're tested at work, and then you can, give the people, our listeners, an example from your personal life as relates to our relationship.
Yeah. Good question. Good question, Gino. I think that and your points are spot on. It's not easy showing up as a CEO. It's not easy showing up as a female CEO. It's not easy showing up as a black female CEO. It's not easy showing up as a black female CEO with dreads. Right?
Oh,
The trifecta. But I think that how I deal with doubt is I have a favorites album. I think I mentioned this maybe to you. I said it in passing in the past. So on my phone,
okay.
I have a favorites album. And anytime I feel like I'm not good enough, anytime I feel like I'm screwing up, I'm not where I need to be. I'm not enough. Anytime I doubt myself, I doubt my ability, I doubt where it is I'm going. Anytime I feel like my dream is crazy or I need to just diminish myself, small up myself, I go to my favorites album. And in my favorites album, I pull up like this picture. Right?
Mhm.
And that's me in 2014, even before I met you when we started. I pull up this picture, sleeping on the floor in the office. Um, my first office in Anguilla. I go back through my favorites and
Hmm.
it instantly it's like a visual reminder of how far I've come. Because when I look in the mirror, I know I'm not that person.
Right.
When I see that girl, I remember who I was at that time. I remember the challenges I faced at that time. I remember the things that kept me up at that time. And I know that and in those moments I'm like, okay, everything isn't perfect. No, you're
Mhm,
still a shit show. Like that's just the,
mhm,
the nature of being in
mhm.
business. Like you're gonna deal with some shit. But it's you have better problems. Like you don't get a life without problems. You just get
Right.
improved problems, right? Or tough problems, higher level problems. And so
Harder
I
problems, harder challenges, right?
harder challenges, yeah. And so I reflect on I use those pictures to kind of just remind myself of who I was and where I was and how far I've come. And that instantly activates my gratitude because if I'm in a moment and I'm feeling like giving up, I'm like,
Mhm,
okay, would I prefer to face the challenge that I'm facing right now? Or would I prefer to go back to this girl and face her challenges? And I'm like, nah, I'm good here. I'll deal with these. I'll deal with these challenges right here, right now, because I know how far I've come. So
alright,
gratitude is it for me. And I activate that gratitude um visually just by going to my favorites album, if I can be honest. In terms of our relationship, I think. when I'm faced with challenges in our relationship, I just think of like no one, no human being is perfect. You're biting your
Mhm.
lips. You know what I'm saying? No human being is perfect, and I just feel like I I reflect on I know what it is I want for my life, and I know that you are the best part of my life, and so I
Oh,
yeah, and I feel like until I wake up and I'm just like, I'm done with this joker. Like until I get up one day and I'm just like, nah, I'm good. And I know what that feeling is like, then I will always fight for my relationship. I'll always fight for my marriage. I will always fight for us because I know that this isn't going to be perfect. You know, we're going to deal with things, but that can't stop me from showing up, from fighting
mhm.
for us, and from being patient and doing all the things that I need to do to
Right.
be a better woman, a better wife, a better partner, all that. So yeah,
She's an
just
excellent wife. Excellent wife.
top
But guys,
tier.
I wanna share a story as relates to the devil showing up from year one in our relationship.
Okay.
You wanna guess which one it is, sweetheart? No? I'll tell it either way.
I know.
So it was our first year of trying a thing, and we could not afford to pay our rent. We could not afford to buy groceries. We were constipated from eating chicken wings every night,
You back with the
unfortunately.
wings, yeah.
And
It's real talk. Them Chinese wings help out,
just
though, I'm tell you
running
that.
down clients, and we could not get in touch with nobody
Yeah,
to give us our money that we
yeah.
needed to survive. And that was just the devil that's blocking us. And
Mhm.
I remember my wife, my lovely wife, breaking down waterworks, and I felt helpless and immediately. So what we haven't said, we're we're Christians. I think we've said it, once or twice before in previous podcasts. We believe in God, and I immediately got down.
Specifically that Jesus died for our sins. That's just our belief system, but yeah.
Right, right, and I immediately said a prayer, and then
You got on your knees and I was like, "Wow." I had never in my life, sorry, just interject. I had never in my life
let me see.
met a man. I was crying, I was frustrated, and like nothing was and this man, he went on his knees and prayed. I was like, "My goodness."
It's not that serious, guys. I mean, coming from the Caribbean, most people are religious, and but to be honest, like I didn't know, didn't know what to do in the moment. Like that was the only thing I could think of, and then immediately we just felt this calm, and we acted. We set up a
Took
plan.
action.
We made some moves. We called around. We made some stuff happen. But I said that to say sometimes, most times, whenever the devil shows up, and if it's not within your control,
Mhm.
the most you can do, or the only thing that you can probably do, is say a prayer, right? And then just
That's
put it in
facts.
God's hands, right?
Yeah.
We believe in action and controlling our own destinies, but sometimes that's not, it's a lot of things are outside of our control, and you just gotta check it up to God. But yeah.
Babes, that is that is such a powerful point. And and let me just say this, the the more successful we become, I think that it has been easier to attribute some of our wins, that is the arrogance in us,
Mhm.
to our own doing, right? To our own actions, to our own greatness. You know, I say I'm a chopper, I'm making shit happen, but the reality is that none of it is possible
Mhm.
without the universe working in our favor. And our belief is that God is working in
Right.
our favor. He has a plan for our life, and that He is aligning our steps to realize whatever this plan is He has for our lives. And I think that one
Ding
of
ding
the
ding.
biggest things, my favorite quote, especially when I was younger and I was, even before I met you, Gino, was faith is freedom. And having that
Mhm,
faith, going to your knees and knowing like, yo, the devil is here. I'm doubting myself, I'm doubting my potential and all of that.
mhm.
But sometimes you just gotta wait. And you gotta wait in faith. You have to sit in
And
faith
that is
and
tough.
wait.
That
And
is
that's
tough.
not easy.
Yep.
That's not easy when you're doubting yourself and what's not, but you have to sit in faith and wait and take the action you need to take and know that your breakthrough, your win is on the other side, but you just got to
Mhm.
be faithful and patient in this moment. You have to be committed. And we ain't no pastors, we ain't none of that, but these are just the things we believe. This is what we pray,
And
this
then
is what we
you can't have a conversation about the devil and not bring up God too, to be
that's
honest.
facts.
Yeah.
That's facts. See my 7 day my 7 day
Here we go. Here we
my 7 day
go.
man. You could tell you were raised in the church, boy. I love that. And that's why I love you. Go
I was
ahead,
taken
baby.
out of the church with my wife. I love her so much.
You what? You were taken out of the
Carry
church
on.
by me.
What's our next
Clarify that
point?
comment on this podcast right now. I took you out of the church or I met you out of the church.
You did not,
One of the
but
first places I
you know, still running church.
went to with you was church. I had
I
never
know.
been well, I haven't been in a 7 day church before, yes.
Yeah,
First places I went with you was church.
yeah, I know.
Right or
You
wrong?
did. Correct. Correct is right. 100 points.
I met you with earrings. I met you in sin. I met you living a
What?
life of a sinner.
Sin?
And you gonna say I took you out the church.
What sin?
Let's get back on track. My boy said what sin? But yeah, guys, like that, I think that was an important point that Gino brought up. That look,
Yeah.
the devil shows up,
Mhm.
and when your doubt is compounding, not only do you have to take action and be willing to do the work without the applause, without the praise, without you have to do that without a spirit of anger, without a spirit of bitterness, without a spirit of comparison. Because there are people, Gino, who when they're doing the work, when they're going through the process, they are still they're bitter, they're angry, they are unhappy about the fact that they got to do the work without the applause. But that's because they don't have faith. Because if you had faith, if you knew that, hey,
Right.
I might not see the outcome right now in my life, but once I continue to take action, my win is going to show up down the road. That's what you got to have. You got to have that faith.
Right. And Tahira, so we know that. Okay, based on what you just said, let me see if I remember what you said. You said that right before the breakthrough,
Mhm,
you got to take action. You can't just sit in that doubt and not do anything.
mhm. Right.
That's like the perfect segue into the next point, which is our surroundings matter. They really do.
Mhm,
And the reason why that's important is because depending on who you have around you, you can either make a bad choice, which leads to a bad action, or a good choice, which
yeah.
ultimately leads you to that breakthrough.
Mhm,
Now, I want to share an experience with you guys. Um, it's something I deal with a lot. Uh, I mean, if you've lost a parent, so my mom recently died. Oh, well, yeah, she recently died. And
mhm,
something that was just bugging me, it also drove me, but it was bugging me, was that I didn't get an opportunity to let her know or show her how appreciative I was of how hard she worked, right? Like this the things that she did for us. And I wanted to actually like purchase a land that she complained incessantly about, just having to
mhm,
pay rent. Like I wanted to say, all right, one day, you're no longer gonna have to pay rent. I'm gonna just do this thing for you, get you
mhm,
put you up, put a house on this spot right here, right? So you don't have to worry about that.
mhm,
And it was hard. I felt a lot of emotions. You're angry, you're sad, and you're disappointed in yourself because now all I'm thinking is, whoo, boy, you wasted a lot of time doing nonsense. And now
mhm,
here you are, where you finally got it, and you're just like in a race with yourself to get things right.
mhm,
And I was I was very hard on myself, and having a great support system around you in terms of like family on both sides, the bank side and the Webster side
Mhm.
really helped a lot. And you guys know that Dream in Color is a podcast for not the average person. I mean, if you, for anyone that who does not want to dream in black and white.
Mhm.
And the reason why community is so important is because when you have the right people next to
Mhm.
you on your side, getting through to that breakthrough, it really helps a lot. Like the devil doesn't even really matter because what is then a bunch of negativity in terms of doubt and just not being able to move forward. Any feelings, emotions you may be experiencing, it then
Mhm.
turns into a lot of positive reinforcement.
Mhm.
And what if that is something that you have been really great at? If anyone knows Tahira, I mean, really knows her, they'll tell you that she's a pump. And I'll let you explain what a pump is, sweetheart. No, no, yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a bad gesture. I take that back. Scratch that from the podcast.
Ah, not gonna say something, but go ahead. What are your thoughts on like the
Yeah, I
people in
mean,
your life that help you get you through that breakthrough, Tahira? Like how important is your surroundings, your environment?
yeah, I agree with everything that you said, and thank you, Gino, for sharing. I know that was a that's personal to you, and appreciate your vulnerability in that moment, just with your own doubts and disappointments and how the devil showed up for you when you lost your mom, because I saw that firsthand. You do what you do. You were in your head. You were doubting
Mm,
yourself. You were angry with yourself. You were battling with all these emotions, and I think that who we surround ourselves with when we are at our lowest point, that matters more than
mhm.
anything else. More than anything else, where we are, who we're around, who we engage with when we're at our lowest point, that matters. And I have a saying that I know is controversial, but I believe it. And I'm willing to state it in any forum. There
Mhm.
are high quality people and there are low quality people.
Okay.
And that is just the reality. There are people who, when they are in your life, and we had this conversation, I shared this with you
But
this week. You had, like, there are people who are when they are in your life, they add to your life. Their presence in your
okay.
life
So I'm
is,
guessing that's how we know they're of high quality.
yeah, their
Okay.
presence in your life, it increases the value of your experiences. It increases your outcomes. It increases everything in your life. And
Okay.
low quality people, they suck from you. They take from you. They put you in a lower place
They're
than
like
you
vampires, right?
actually need to be. And an interesting point that you made in the past was that those, you know, people taking from your life,
Mhm.
sometimes it actually shows up as people pouring into your life. Sometimes the people that you think are high quality actually long term do not add to your big picture. They don't add to your dream. They don't add
True,
in the
true.
ways that you need them to add to your destiny. And so they kind of end up becoming those people that zap from you, right? But people I understand, and it's why I don't say it in many settings, but people get frustrated, and we had this conversation with the lady today. People get frustrated naturally, so especially when you're younger, because you feel like everything is just piling on. You're in a low place, but everything is just piling on. And what's the question I asked? I said, tell me about who you're hanging out with. Tell me.
Mhm.
Tell me, like, what you doing, what you up to, what are you doing when you're not working, who are you chilling with? And when you get into it, you realize, oh, like, you're hanging around with freaking vultures. You're hanging with people who, they are not, their lives are not in alignment with your life.
Correct.
Their goals are not in alignment with your goals. They can't pour into you. Their values are not in alignment with your values. And in fact, they only want to be around you. Why? Because you radiate light. And if it's one thing negative people, toxic
Narcissism.
people like, is to attach themselves to positive people. Toxic people love to attach themselves to positive people. It's just they need that and they feed off of that. And so when you are in a low place, or even if you haven't arrived at a low place, it's very important to audit your circle. I used this comment before. Audit your circle and put your people in categories: high quality, low quality. And anybody that wants to take offense, go and talk to a high performer and they will tell you. They may not say it in those terms, but that's exactly what they do. They have people in categories, and people who take more than they give to
Mhm.
relationships, people who suck more energy. And we're not talking
Mhm.
financial. It's just
Yeah,
energy.
I
It's
know.
like,
Just
what do
yeah,
you
and
bring to the
kind of
table? Is
right.
is is your energy toxic? Is your energy negative? Is your energy just drama? Is it nonsense? And if it's that, then you even before you are going through that low moment, you got to
Mhm.
get these people out of your space. Because when you're in that place, the last thing you need to do is be around these people. They will take you
Right.
down
Yep.
every time.
And watch ya. I know growing up in church every Saturday that the
Hmm.
devil appears in any shape, every shape and form. And whether it's
Yep.
a circumstance, an event, um,
Hmm.
people,
He
like
shows up.
when like it's in people as well. Right as you're about to, check this box, do something great. Oh, here we go. This person does something,
Yeah.
messes up our psyche, right? Messes our
Yeah.
mental. And I think what's important to note here is that we can't control what happens, like what the universe dishes out. We can't,
Mm-mm.
to be honest. But we can control our surroundings. We can control how we deal with people.
Hmm.
And all of us, we have that power. And if if there's something that you've been working on for so long, you're not gonna let anything. Some of us, like my toxic trait is that I am too nice, hands down.
Yep.
I just met
He's a
you,
sweetheart.
and here you go. This is a gift. I am, yeah,
And the gift is Gino. The gift is his time. The gift is his kindness. Like people think that the
but
gift is sometimes like things. Like it's just showing up as a good person.
yeah,
Hmm.
and you got to be careful with that, because it may look like it may look like a good thing, but it's actually the devil in disguise. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to point that out, as it relates to, and and you know what it is.
Yeah.
So
I
just look out
I
for that.
I 1000% agree with that. We had this conversation maybe a week or two ago, Gino, where I told you I now make it a point in the
Mhm.
past few years of my life. I've learned over the past, I'd say 6 years, like you can't be a child no more. Like you need to
Yeah.
listen. When people talk, you need to listen. When people when people say things, when people operate in a certain way, you need to listen. Like you need to not judge, but you need to assess people's character and
Yep.
determine, are these the people that I need around me? Because when you are facing the devil, it is literally like, not literally, you're at war. You're going up at war. And who do you want with you when you're at war? Do you want people who are going to be on the front lines fighting with you, or do you want freaking soldiers who are in the back complaining about all the shit that ain't right with the army and
Correct.
why we should just go the other way? You want people who are in alignment.
And for some reason, Tahira, we as just human beings in general, people
Mhm.
tell us who they are way before we end up in any difficult situation or any
Facts.
uncomfortable situation. They
That's
tell us
fact.
exactly who they are, and most people just default to trust. And
Yep.
when they appear as the devil, then it's another thing to deal with. So that's also something that you can look out for. And I always say, hey, I would never like if I had to redo like start over life, I would never start from zero. Like I would never start from like 5 or 10 and
Mhm,
invest in Google or Facebook or something like that. No, I want to start out as an adult. Like I'd want to start at like 30. No, I'd say 25. Let's say 25 because
mhm,
the lessons that you learn from all the failures and different interactions with people,
mhm.
priceless. And the biggest devil of all, it appears in people. Like it's always
Yeah,
people. It's
yeah.
never like for me. Well, in my life, I'd say personally, and
Mhm.
in all of my experiences, it's always people. It has
It's
always been
people.
people, never like a situation. Because most times, like you can either, I feel like you can either do more or do less as it relates to different events.
Yeah,
But
different situations. Agreed.
yeah,
Absolutely agreed. So, a great book that I would recommend to anyone that is listening and that kind of wants to figure out a bit better about, how to curate their surroundings. One book that I would recommend just to start to understand people a little bit more is Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. Read a
right.
lot of books, and there are others I would recommend, but I like this book based on specifically because of something Gino just said, and it's about what people default to. And in this book, Malcolm Gladwell really breaks down a lot of the basically the biases that
Hmm.
we have kind of baked into us based on our childhood experiences, based on our lived
Hmm.
experiences, based on our life's journey, and how those biases and those experiences actually shape how we approach different relationships, how we size up and assess situations, whether we default to trust, whether we default to distrust, whether we default to honesty, whether we default to dishonesty. And I think
Hmm.
that what I took away most from the book is that in every situation, you really need to be you have to, you're almost it's almost like you're doing an investigation. You're dissecting who it is you're talking to
Hmm.
and trying to allow them to speak as much as possible to understand more about their story, to understand more about their background, to understand more about their thought process, because when you let people talk, they'll tell you everything you need to know. They'll
Hmm.
tell you a lot of what you need to know, and you kind of ask the same questions in different ways. But really designing your surroundings and the people that are around you is extremely important, because when you do that, what you're essentially doing is you're preparing your army for when the devil attacks. And the devil will always show up, he will always attack. Right before you're going to get that big break, right before you get that win, he's going to show up. And so you have to prepare your army ahead of time. You don't prepare
Yep.
your army when you're in the middle of the battle.
Right. And what we've learned over time is that the higher you climb, like the more difficult the challenges become,
Mhm.
and the devil just seems to get bigger and bigger at
Yeah.
every stage. And so, like, you're never ever not going to have to deal with the devil,
Yeah.
but
Because that was the question
you
today.
become
That was the question of the day. The young lady, she turned to me, she said, "When does it stop? Like
right, right,
when do I stop dealing with bullshit?" And I was like, "It doesn't." Like it
yeah,
never stops. Like it's forever. Like this is forever. You just learn to manage your emotions better. You learn
right,
to not make snap decisions. You learn to curate your surroundings and build your fortress of people. You
mhm,
learn to evaluate situations better. It doesn't stop. It never ends. It's forever.
love it.
You shaking your head, Gino. What you think about that?
I
What,
mean, like,
I mean, when you
I
think about that, what? Let's be honest. When I, because sometimes I've told you that I'm like, babes, you know that this is just like this
hey,
is
well, you
nothing.
know what I tell you all the time. I ain't got no plan B. This is it.
Me
So
neither.
this is it, and you just gotta suck it up and deal with it. Right. But I do agree with a lot of the stuff I mean, obviously it's what we believe in, what we live by.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's so important to have that because here I tell you all the time, I'm not sure like not where I would be, but like it really helps to have someone who is always positive and
Mhm.
who sees that side of life, who thinks bigger, larger than life. I mean, like I could remember we had that conversation when I told you like I am not sure like if I didn't like choose this path where my life would have been.
Well, I'm
And
sure you'd be successful in your own right.
right,
That's
right.
just, yeah.
I know, but guys, I'm talking to you now, fellas, right? Talking to you. Just pretend Tahirah isn't here, right? If you got your wife or
Eric,
girlfriend close by, like just tell them,
like
give
ease
you a
up.
second. But it's extremely important to know that if you're ambitious and and I've seen it a lot of times, like if you're going after something, you want a lot out of life. Just men in general, we have to live uh, on the edge of our potential. And I'm sorry to say, but we can't do it on our own, unfortunately. I tried, it didn't work. It will
Mhm.
never work. And the reason why God created Adam and Eve, Adam was lonely, so he made Eve,
Oh, that's
is
why?
because let's not.
Go ahead.
But my point here is that if you have a great woman, a good woman at your side, anything is possible. Think, even if you don't need her for anything else, you guys
Even if
love
she
car
nags?
like you a lot. Yes, just think of them as nitrous, and it's the boost that you need to take your life to the next step, at the next stage. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I agree. This is almost an hour, Gino.
yeah. I
Is
like I
is
like this topic. I really enjoyed this topic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. This was an important conversation to have because as we told a young lady in the store, she said, "Man, I wish you could be my mentor." I said, "Hey, you could call me anytime." Like, I live for these conversations. Is
Yeah.
why we're having the podcast. I want more people. We want more people to believe in themselves, to show up for themselves when the
Right.
devil shows up, to choose themselves, to eradicate all low quality people in their lives and focus solely on building positive relationships with people whose
Hmm.
lives they meaningfully contribute to and who meaningfully contribute to their lives. That is how it should be. And anybody telling you otherwise is trying to game you. Like, no, you don't need to be, no, absolutely not. So I this is a topic that is a passion point for us
Hmm.
because we have lived so much of it, and everything we're discussing here, we've given you examples. This is our lived experience. This is our
Yeah.
reality. And
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 before you go, guys, you all have some homework. I didn't necessarily love homework, but anytime you encounter someone, you have not, even if it's somebody on the side of the street,
mhm,
if it's a conversation that you had, and if it's something that you've dealt with
mhm.
and you got through it, just pass it on. Just pass it
Yeah,
on. Pass it down. Help a fellow human out. All right. That's with everybody.
that's that
Just
that's
keep passing
important.
it down. Yeah.
That's important. Yeah, that was because she felt today like she was like the situation was unique to her, and I was like,
All
baby,
right.
this
All right.
ain't unique to
Bunch of
you.
that.
This everyone experiences this. You just
Yep.
got to fight through it. You're just experiencing your version of it. So guys, that's our show for today. We very much look forward to seeing you guys next week. We're traveling tomorrow, so we'll be back next week. And thank you as always for joining us. We hope that you continue to show up for yourself, where you continue to show up for your people and surround yourself with people who
That's right.
show up for you. We hope that you continue to fight against doubt, build
Mm-hmm.
your army, and for sure fight the biggest devil that will ever come at you, which is your own mind. So have that
Right.
confidence,
Well, that
believe in
mental
yourself,
toughness, guys. Yep.
work on that mental toughness. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, see ya.
All right. Bye.